Well, there you are, Spooky and Speedy. What's going on? Whoa. What y'all doing? Huh? Speedy? Is everything okay? Spooky? No. Y'all seem to be in a tizzy, aren't you? Yeah, you're just all over Papa. Yeah. So what's happening today? Huh? Something's critical, huh? I know it is. Yep. Because Spooky informed me of it yesterday. And Speedy's just freaking out about it. So you might wonder what is going on and why the kitty crew is so upset. Well, that's what we're out here to talk about. And in a video that I haven't done in a long time, a deep dive in the current crisis that faces the U.S. today on January 19th, 2022. Of course, it's not upsetting enough to Speedy there to not enjoy some of her kit and caboodle. Woo! But we got some nice blue skies. Yes, sir. Right here in the deep south of Alabama. We surely do. Looking fine. But if you listen closely, you can hear the roar of an airplane up ahead. And therein lies the crisis that we all face today. One that's been coming for quite some time. But indeed, is it a crisis? Or just something else that we're not going to have to worry about for very long? So hello there, friends and family. Like always, so glad to see you. And we're out here on the old home place. And the reason I'm out here today is because, well, as you might know, Spooky attended the Kitty Council National Security meeting yesterday. And it does appear that they're extremely worried about something that's happening today. And you might be aware of it, maybe you're not. And what might that be? Well, that would be and I want you to listen to my words real closely, because maybe you didn't listen and digest the words real closely from mainstream media and social media in the upcoming event that's happening today. Keep an eye out in the skies for me too, even though the kitty crew is jam up on top of it. They're keeping an eye out skyward as well, and they're right here with me. So what's happening today? Well, today is the nationwide, remember that word, nationwide rollout of 5G mobile service here in the U.S. Oh yeah, 5G is supposed to be so much faster than the 4G that old Mr. Tom has right now. And that's what I have. And before that I had 3G. And before that I had 2G. But with every instance, and what does the G mean? Generation. So, you know, cell phones, which I'm very familiar with and worked on initially in my earlier career as an engineer, when they started to proliferate back in the early 90s. And then we had 2G, then came 3G, and then 4G. And with every different version, there's always been a controversy of the great things that would happen to humanity. And I'm not going to get into all the health effects that people claim or say or what have you. And I know right now, those of you watching me, 58% of you watch me on your mobile phone. Yeah, I can see that, and that's a fact. So, before today, the nationwide rollout, here again, pay attention to that word, is happening all throughout the U.S. Now, you might have saw yesterday, as you did on January the 3rd, when it was supposed to roll out 5G, the airlines are in a big tizzy, as is the kitty crew, afraid that at any minute an airplane could fall out of the sky and kill us. Came out and said there would be disruptions, major cancellations to flights in the U.S. because of the rollout of the 5G mobile service. Yeah. So it was postponed again for the second time to today, January 19th. Now it is rolling out, but what has happened is the two largest carriers, AT&T and Verizon, have said they're not going to power up antennas around major U.S. airports. And the reason for that is because the CEOs of 10 of leading airlines came out yesterday with a warning that the 5G rollout could cause major flight delays, cancellations, and disrupted service. Now, why is that? Well, their concern is it may or could, and that's where you got to read the articles and listen to what people are telling you. You got to, listen for that word and read that word, could affect their altimeters that the planes rely on to land during adverse weather events. Yeah. So that's their concern. But with all that said, there are some things I want to share with you today. Like I said, this isn't about the health effects. So before we start typing and dancing on the keyboard, I don't need to see right now, it causes brain tumors, cancer, low sperm count, what have you. That's for another discussion. And I can do that if you'd like. This is about the rollout. But it's also about the fact that you're not being told the whole truth. Not by a long shot. So is today the first day that 5G has been available in the U.S. or in other countries? Well, that's what we're going to be taking a look at. And then, like always, we've got to ask ourselves why all of a sudden this is a major crisis. Why, on the 12th hour of the last day, did the CEOs of airlines come out with this dire warning? And you start seeing pictures of aircraft falling out of the sky. Yeah. Is that possibly true? Is that the whole truth? Nothing but the truth. Well, what I'm about to show you may enlighten you that it might possibly not be all they're making it out to be, and that gets back to the point why the big hoopla and dire warnings that came out yesterday and continue today. So that's what we're going to be talking about. And thank God, Spooky, after he got out of the kitty National Security Council meeting, alerted me to the fact of what was going on today. So yeah, today is January 19th, and it's the national rollout of 5G. That's why I keep telling you, listen to that word, national rollout. And the big concern again is it'll interfere with the radar altimeters of aircraft, which share a portion of the bandwidth or frequency that 5G, fifth generation mobile services, will be using starting today. Now, another thing I want you to think about There's been no mention or concern of it interfering with the main radar that each passenger airliner and freight airliner uses on board. They all have radar, so they can see other planes. Yep, surely they can. There's no concern over that. So that sort of makes me a little bit skeptical, along with some other things I'm going to be showing you about this 5G rollout. Another fact is, you got to ask yourself, is why all of a sudden the CEOs of airlines, the FAA, and everything has made this an issue. Why now? Why at the last minute of the last day or the day before? And that, why didn't they do something before? Why didn't they raise the red flag months ago? See, they knew this was coming. They surely did. And they've known for quite some time. And apparently they did nothing, or little to nothing. But the FAA has came out, as with all the CEOs, and said, well, they need to test it around every airport in the country. Every plane, not types of planes, but every plane. But being an engineer and that, and knowing a little thing about how things are manufactured and that, because I've worked in all types of industries, I would think each, version of a plane would use a similar altimeter radar system. They don't use each different ones individually, I wouldn't think. I could be wrong, but that's, what I think. But they're saying now they got to test every plane, they got to test every airport before they know it's safe. Now, granted, since I used to fly a considerable amount of time during my career as an engineer, it's better to, be cautious and take safety into consideration. So I'm good with all this, and I don't plan on flying anytime soon. So it really doesn't affect me, other than the fact that, Spooky, Speedy, Cleo, and the whole kitty crew are anxious that, at any moment, FedEx could crash into the home place. Me, on the other hand, not so much. But as of now, today, the FAA has already cleared 45% of the U.S. fleet. 45. Now, that's a considerable amount, almost half, haven't found a problem. They've cleared them. I don't know why the FAA lagged in their duties. I guess that's just government, ain't it? But what they're not telling you, not mainstream media or the social media talking heads aren't telling you, is what I'm about to show you. So like I've said before you start typing away, dancing those fingers upon the keys, and tell me all the things that you think or believe, watch the entire video, okay? And as always, your opinion, and that may differ from mine, or your belief, but you understand this. Engineers, we don't have beliefs and opinions. We just have our facts, science, mathematics, and that such. And if you'd like Mr. Tom to get into all the technical reasons of the difference between 4G and 5G and the possible health effects of it, well, I can do that too in another video. But let me take you on in to the command center, and let's take a look at what has happened and what is happening right now in the U.S. as 5G rolls out nationwide on January the 19th, 2022. Okay? Come on in. Well, here we are, friends and family, in the command center here at Deep South of Alabama. And this is what you'll see with just your standard search here on YouTube, of course, so you can do it on Google or any of your social media platforms. And what do you see? Airline executives warn 5G rollout could affect flights. Airline CEOs sound alarm ahead of the 5G rollout. Verizon, AT&T delay 5G rollout near some airports. Urgent warning on ABC, 5G warning. Airbus and Boeing call for a pause on the rollout of 5G. CBS News, AT&T and Verizon, 5G rollout, what to know. NBC News, major airline CEOs warn about the rollout of the 5G service today on January 19th, 2022, and it just continues. Airlines warn of possible disruptions ahead of 5G rollout. Airlines call for immediate intervention ahead of the 5G rollout. Yep, it seems we have a crisis on our hands and a possible catastrophe. But do we really? And is this all warranted? Well, let's take a look at that in depth now. Now, this is just one of hundreds of articles that came out since it was announced we'd do the 5G rollout nationwide. Remember that word, nationwide, in the U.S. And this is from Reuters. And it says right here, AT&T Verizon paused 5G rollout near U.S. airports to avoid flight disruption. Yep. Washington, January 18th, Reuters. AT&T and Verizon Communications on Tuesday agreed to temporarily defer turning on some wireless towers near key airports to avert a significant disruption to U.S. flights as they roll out 5G service that will bring faster wireless service to tens of millions of people. President Joe Biden hailed the agreement, saying it would avoid potentially devastating disruptions to passenger travel, cargo operations, and our economic recovery, while allowing more than 90% of the wireless tower deployment to occur as scheduled. Now, take note of that. More than 90% of the wireless tower deployment to occur as scheduled, that being today. So at best, they're only delaying 10% around airports. Bear that in mind as we continue. Late Tuesday, the Federal Aviation Administration updated its list of airports that planes were approved radio altimeter equipment could use, to include major airports like New York, JFK, and LaGuardia, Los Angeles, Chicago's O'Hare, and Midway, San Francisco, and Seattle. The FAA was also expected to update its list of Airbus and Boeing planes with the approved equipment in the coming hours. The update should dramatically lessen the impact of nearly 1,500 notices of 5G restrictions that the FAA had issued. And we ain't heard about all of them up to this point, have we? Airlines and the FAA warned that new restrictions as a result of the 5G service, which Verizon and AT&T are to launch on Wednesday, would still prompt some flight disruptions. Delta Airlines said while the wireless moves were a positive development, some flight restrictions may remain. United Airlines told customers on a flight from Denver to Houston that a 3-hour delay was a result of the new 5G systems, according to a notice on its website. It also suggested customers with any concerns could reach out to the Federal Communications Commission. The FAA has warned that 5G wireless interference could affect, and see, they keep saying could. Remember that word. Affect sensitive airplane instruments such as radio, altimeters, and slightly hamper low visibility operations. The FAA said it anticipated there would be some impacts due to limitations of some radio altimeters. Verizon will temporarily not turn on about 500 towers near airports, sources told Reuters, or less than 10% of their planned deployment, while the carriers and the administration work on a permanent solution. Sources briefed on the matter said details of the agreement, including the length of the pause, were not disclosed. Now, it's not like we're not going to do it, we're just delaying it. Both Verizon and AT&T will launch 5G elsewhere in the country. Basically, 90% of America will get 5G today. Federal Communications Commission Chair Jessica Rosenworcel said in a statement that the FAA has a process in place to assess altimeter performance in the 5G environment and resolve any remaining concerns. It is essential that the FAA now complete this process with care and speed. Well, the question that comes to mind here, why haven't we done this already? We knew this was going to happen for 3 years, and we'll get at that a little bit later. They've known for nearly 3 years. Yep, they surely have. Airlines for America, a passenger and cargo trade group, said the pause provides the opportunity to ensure all stakeholders, consumers, and the U.S. economy are served in the long run. This is the third time that AT&T and Verizon agreed to delay deployment of the new C-band 5G wireless service. The companies in November postponed deployment by 30 days until January 5th, then agreed to delay deployment until January 19th. Nearly all but a handful of the impacted sites are Verizon towers, officials said. Still, the FAA and the airlines must grapple with how to resolve the concerns permanently, especially since AT&T and Verizon earlier agreed to take some measures to reduce interference for 6 months. Despite the agreement, major foreign carriers, including Air India and Japan's biggest airline, ANA Holdings, said they had canceled some U.S.-bound flights because of possible 5G interference. And we'll look at why that sort of kind of ain't important a little bit later. ANA said on its website it had canceled some Boeing 777 flights after Boeing announced flight restrictions on all airlines operating the Boeing 77 aircraft. Boeing did not immediately comment. Airlines are likely to cancel some additional flights in the coming hours as they wait for formal guidance from the FAA on the announcements from Verizon and AT&T. They warned Monday of catastrophic impacts. Airlines had raised concerns that the issue could prevent them from flying Boeing 777s and other wide-body jets to many key airports. The chief executives of major U.S. passenger and cargo carriers on Monday said the new 5G service could render a significant number of wide-body aircraft unusable, could potentially strand tens of thousands of Americans overseas, and cause chaos for U.S. flights. The airlines asked the 5G be implemented everywhere in the country except within the approximate 2 miles of airport runways at some key airports. Now, just some, not all. Remember that. Verizon's rollout plan is much more aggressive than AT&T's. It is significantly impacted by the Biden administration's request to delay using some towers near airport runways. AT&T and Verizon won significant C-band spectrum in an $80 billion auction last year. Now, who conducted that auction? Let me just tell you. That would have been the Federal Communications Commission, the FCC, and the government. Yeah, they got that $80 billion. Where was all the concern then? I'm just asking. Verizon Chief Executive Hans Vestberg told employees on January the 4th The carrier saw no aviation safety issue with 5G and had resisted prior delays, officials told Reuters. So there you have it. That's the state of the situation as it was prior on January the 18th, as it was prior January the 4th for the 5th rollout, and prior to the 29th of November before the November 30th rollout. So indeed, and you might not have known this, you might have caught on about the January 5th delay, and now January 19th limited delay of the 5G rollout, but you probably didn't know about November the 30th. But it just gets better from here. Is 5G or has 5G been available in other parts of the world or even in the U.S. before today, before November the 30th and earlier? Well, that's what we're going to look at now. And that's what just may surprise you. Let's take a look at that. So right here on an article on, of all places, wikipedia.org. And you see the highlight area here. And what it says here, the equivalent numbers in November of 2018. Understand 2018. There were 192 operators in 81 countries. The first country to adopt 5G on a large scale was South Korea. In April 2019, Swedish telecoms giant Ericsson predicted that 5G internet would cover up to 65% of the world's population by the end of 2025. The important date here is 2018 and the fact that it was in 81 countries. But let's take a further look at that on some graphics I just happen to have that show you where this all took place at. Okay? So now we're at another site, RCR Wireless. Intelligence for all things wireless, as you might know. And they have a nice little graphic here that shows where 5G was on July the 7th, 2021. Now understand that's July the 7th, 2021, and here we are, January 19th, 2022. And you will see the number one country that has 5G is China, 376 cities. Oh, I want you to look at the number two country that also had 5G enabled as of July the 7th, 2021. We'll get further into this just when all that happened and how that grew in the U.S. 284. And Philippines came in at 95. And then number 4 was South Korea. Number 5, Canada. 6 was Finland. 7 was Spain. 8 was Italy. 9 was UK. And number 10 spot was Australia, tied with Saudi Arabia. So, prior to today, all these countries, oh, and right here, the U.S., 284, had 5G mobile service enabled. So when did that all take place in our country? I mean, we don't really care about the rest, do we? Other than the fact, where have you seen on mainstream media or social media that's losing their minds right now of planes crashing, burning, having issues, diverting flights, canceling flights, what have you, prior to today? Well, if you've seen any of that, let me know. Personally, I have not. So let's take a look at just when the USA actually had 5G initiated in our country. Okay? So y'all, here we are at the Verizon website, Verizon.com. And you'll see right here this article. On the 6th of December, 2019, Verizon News Archives. When was 5G introduced? I got this neat graphic here showing you a whole bunch of bright white spots and interconnectivity lines? Yep. And they're going to go through the history of 5G, and I'll link this article below for those of you who would like to read it in its entirety. And I'm not going to go through that. But what is important is Verizon introduced 5G in 2019 in parts of many cities in the first part of the year, with plans to have 5G in more than 30 U.S. cities by the end of the year. Now, we're not talking 2022, folks, or 2021, we're talking 2019. And one of the first to get it was the Chicago area, launched April 3rd, 2019. And it was launched in the Loop, West Loop, South Loop, near landmarks like the Willis Tower, Union Station, the Art Institute of Chicago, Millennium Park, and the Chicago Theater, the Magnificent Mile around the Verizon store, the Gold Coast, the River North, the Old Town. Minneapolis, Minnesota, launched on April 3rd, 2019, here again, in selected areas. Denver, Colorado, launched June the 27th, 2019, here again, selected areas, as you can see right here. Providence, Rhode Island, launched July the 1st, 2019. St. Paul, Minnesota, launched July the 18th, 2019. Atlanta, which is the closest city to me, where it launched July the 31st, 2019. Detroit, launched July the 31st, 2019. Indianapolis, Indiana, launched July the 31st, 2019. Oh, and just so if you didn't know, that our politicians may have not known about 5G, Washington, D.C. launched July the 31st, 2019. Foggy Bottom, DuPont Circle, Cardozo and U Street, Adams Morgan, Columbia Heights, and the Ledroit Park, and others. So yes, our politicians already knew about the launch of 5G way before 2022, January the 19th. Phoenix, Arizona launched August the 23rd, 2019. Panama City launched September the 26th, 2019. New York City launched September the 26th, 2019. And just look at all the places. Manhattan, Midtown, Financial District, Harlem, East Harlem, Hell's Kitchen, Washington Heights, downtown Brooklyn, the Bronx of all places, Pelham Bay, Fordham Heights, Hunts Point, landmarks, Bryant Park, St. Patrick's Cathedral, Madison Square Garden, Trinity Park in Brooklyn, the Lincoln Tunnel, Manhattan entrance, Javits Center on 11th Avenue between 36th and 37th Street, and the Theater District on Broadway between 49th and 52nd Street. Dallas launched October the 25th, 2019. Omaha, Nebraska launched October the 25th, 2019. Houston, Texas launched November the 19th, 2019. In a multitude of places. Boston, Massachusetts launched November 19th, 2019. In considerably much more places. And this was just the beginning, and it continued throughout the remainder of 2019, 2020, 2021. Yeah, they kept implementing and turning it on city by city, all the way up to today. And that's why I said, listen to the words, nationwide launch. Because they're only talking about going nationwide. It had already been launched in all these places and many more before today. So why all of a sudden Why did the FAA and the FCC and our politicians drag their feet? Why did the U.S. airlines not say a thing about it up to this point? Well, I don't know, and we may never know. But that's the question to ask all of y'all. My point being is our government, our airlines, our bureaucrats, that whether it be the FCC or the FAA, they knew. They had already had exposure to the launch of 5G in all the cities I just mentioned. And as far as I know, and I sort of kind of keep up with the news feed, I have alerts set, And of course Spooky, he keeps up with it. He's just jam up. Being a member of the Security Council as he is. And we have not heard of any planes having difficulties landing or having any crashes, delays, cancellations, or what have you, due to 5G being implemented in all the places we just discussed. So, maybe you know, maybe somebody out there in the government knows why we're all in a tizzy today. For me, I'm thinking, in the long run, 5G will be implemented just like it is all around the world, and life will just go on as it has before. Now, this is not about whether it has health impacts or psychological impacts or what have you. I can go over that in another video, which I've also been looking into, because I had a viewer that has strong feelings about this, and I think is sort of kind of pissed off at old Mr. Tom, because he don't quite share them. But that's just the way it is. Sometimes you just don't always agree with everyone. Personally, I don't get all upset over that. But I have found here on social media, some people do. But, just to make sure, we better step outside and make sure that nothing's happened since we've all been in here talking about this. But I think, as you can see, for whatever reason, this has been all blown up to be something that it just is not to be. Because it's all happened way before in the past, as you can see. Nearly 3 years in the past. So ask yourself why. Now, I can't answer it for you. Maybe you can. So y'all, there you have it. That's the truth about the 5G rollout in the U.S. today on January 19th, 2022. For indeed, that's why I say you have to read, comprehend, and listen to what they're saying, what the articles are telling you, and what all these talking heads are telling you, where they tell you could, may, or possibly. And it's just like I showed you what they say, could. They don't know, or they say they don't know, even though the FAA has already certified 45% of the U.S. airlines, 55% to go. As well as the fact that today is not the first time that 5G has been implemented in the U.S. As you saw, it started to be implemented in select U.S. cities in April 2019, and it continued throughout 2019, and if you really want to know, it continued through 2020 and 2021. That's why we had, when I showed you that graphic of where 5G was available as of July of 2021, there were 246 cities that had 5G mobile service enabled. Yeah. And the important part here is the airlines never said a word. Not the passenger lines, not the cargo lines, nobody. So that begs the question, why all of a sudden now? Why? What are they after? What do they want? Well, I'm sort of figuring that all comes to this. Money, yep. We'll just have to see. Also begs the question, since I'm sure our government knew and our politicians knew that we actually preliminarily rolled it out in 2019 as well. See, that's the truth of things. And that's the truth that mainstream media didn't tell you since the first of the year, or any of the talking heads on social media that want you to be scared. And it all depends on their agendas and their channels. For many, it's supply chain disruptions. You know, if FedEx and DHL and USPS, you know, United States Postal Service, which flies jets too, for air freight, as well as UPS, if all that stops, more supply chain issues, higher prices, more bare shelves, scarcity in the U.S. Yeah, that's why they play it up. Maybe that's why the airlines do. Maybe that's why our government does, to instill fear in you. But Mr. Tom, and I just don't know why most of the time now I tend to be like the little minnow trying to swim upstream. That's when I look into things, look deep, like I did about this, and I have many more subjects I've looked deep into, and I've sort of been negligent on sharing those with you because I'm not sure you want to know. Maybe you gotten just like me. Rather just not know and depend on myself for what I can do and leave the rest up to God. But if you'd like to see more in-depth, deep dive, dig down videos on what's actually going on in America, I'd be more than glad to do them. But, you know, when I've done them in the past, people tend to hold on to their beliefs and opinions. Well, they're actually based in fact, and they can tend to get nasty. I don't care. See, I'm an engineer. I base my opinions, which I don't have, or beliefs, which I don't have. I just use things like mathematics, physics, science, common sense to develop what I feel is possible and probable. And if that's what more you'd like to see from time to time, maybe on a Saturday night or a Sunday night, I could do a video about that. Maybe make it something more regular. You let me know in the comments. Well, let me know what you think about the 5G thing and our airlines today. Or whether you even plan traveling on airlines. I personally don't plan on it. But I have noticed since I've looked into it deeply that the kitty crew is now at ease. Speedy, you chilling out underneath the blueberries? You are? Everything is good, isn't it? Yep, I told you we'd look into it. And I knew you were a little hysterical this morning. But as far as I know, nothing's fell out of the sky today yet. And I checked the news feed. So far, all is well in the U.S. No, I even checked Flight Tracker. Spook, Everything okay? Everything's fine on the air travel front, right? Everything progressing as normal? No, I think it is too. Well, let's go in. We'll close this down. Just looking at how air traffic is right at the moment. So I will leave you with that. Now I'll show you a graphic of the current air flight tracker as it is right now. At this time, around 4 in the afternoon, Central Time in the U.S. Until I see you, and Spooky, Speedy, Grace, Cleo, sometimes Magoo, Elrod, Mr. Gray, and Heathcliff on the next video. Y'all take care. Stay safe. God bless each and every one of you as you bless others. Goodbye for now. Okay, guys, let's go check flight tracker. See what's up, okay? So, y'all, in closing, here we are, looking down on the good old US of A on flight tracker. Well, flight radar 24. And you can see all the little airplanes covering the entirety of the US. Does this look like a chaos and catastrophic halt of air travel or air cargo in the US? Well, to me, not so much, since I look at this several times daily. Yep, looks like there's a pile of planes up in there and almost cover the whole entire part of the US up, especially if we back up a little bit on satellite view. And if you look at the US right here, look at Europe in comparison, there's no comparison. We're pretty much just covered slap up. Europe's not so much. Maybe they're worried about our 5G rollout. Same true in South America and Africa. Look how many planes are flying in Africa. Yeah. Or we get over here in Russia and China. Not so much as, once again, when we get over here into the US. So, with all that said, has 5G rolled out over 90% of the US impacted us in any way, form, or fashion? Well, I'll leave that up to you to decide. So, bear this all in mind next time crisis comes your way. And as always, I'll leave you with this. And I do hope this all finds y'all well, safe, and happy with your friends, family, and loved ones, wherever you may be in the U.S. and in neighboring countries all around the globe. Y'all take care.